Good morning, everyone. So today we're going to get into some deeper, real use case scenarios of Terraform. So as you guys know from the last Terraform stream we went over some things related to how to get started with Terraform, what it is, how it works, things like that. So today I want to go over actually utilizing Terraform in a real world scenario. So for example, if you're going to use Terraform to actually deploy Azure applications to the cloud, specifically Azure, how you would do so, how you could access key vault data, things like that. I've already pre-built some templates from the last stream. Most of that documentation for that kind of stuff is all found here on the Terraform website under Terraform CLI. So you can look up in here and find your different commands on how to build your configurations, things like that. So we're going to start off kind of going through this in a scenario where I have the main.ts file already created. And so we'll adjust things if we need. But so like, as you can see here, this is the portal. So you want to go to portal.azure.com, log into your account. So as you can see, so we can go into here, and if we open the editor, we can see in the tutorial folder, we only have main. Sample was the one we created last time. This is main. So we did like mobile test app, dev, set regions, admin username, your password, what subscription that relies in. There's like we created an admin tools resource group last time where we created our key vault, and where we have one key vault share all the credentials to manage. Now you can create a key vault for each application and kind of go that route with it. So in this tutorial, we're going to basically just go over how to run this script, create these assets, and adjust anything that needs to be done during that time, right? So then let me see. So we've got the key vault secret here for the AAD client ID, the AA secret, which I don't know that we're actually using it in this instance. But then we have, this is for if you want to have authentication access to your app service, you can do so. And then you got the admin password where it pulls the password from the key vault. So that way it's not committed in text form anywhere. One of the cool things that I did add to this is we did add tags. So you can add tags like, oh, this is the DevOps team. This is really good for people to help figure out what assets go to where when they're looking at billing and stuff like that. And you've got environments. So environments is important because you want to be able to say, this is the dev environment, this is a production environment. I want to be able to quickly source or filter for environments based on what kind of things I'm looking for, right? So we got a SQL server, Sql Database. Let me go up here and let's change some things here. So we're going to call this, you know what, let's use a real world scenario where we're going to deploy Tuner's Edge's website to this, right? So default app is Tuner's Edge app. The environment, we'll stick with dev, central US, USSC, Tuner's Edge. We'll do a dev and a acceptance version and get those deployed. And then stage 2, we'll go through setting up CI/CD to get those that website deployed to the site. I don't know if I have the repo in here or not, but we can probably do that tomorrow. So here we go. We got this app service plan, a free one. I want it on demand. I don't need it accessibly ready all the time. So app service plan. And then we got the app service here. I'm going to call this app instead of AS. And then we have our storage container, our app insights, SQL server, SQL database. Even though like this application is an ASP, so or SAP, sorry, it's an SAP, so it doesn't need a SQL database. But we're gonna create one just to do it. Because who knows, I may want to throw a database on it later. What's really cool with this is, so let's do this. Let's add, all right, so we don't have teams on any of this. So what we'll do is we'll save this. Let me close this editor. And then so we want to do a Terraform init first. And this is going to init this folder into a Terraform instance and create all the plugins and stuff like that for it. So as you can see, it downloaded the plugin Azure RM and added it to this folder. And then now we can do a Terraform plan. Terraform plan will then read through that config file, figure out what needs to be created, kind of go down that route. It's cool because it double checks and makes sure that it has access to everything, and then it'll make sure like everything's good to go. Cool. So this is basically saying everything looks good. It's telling me that we're going to apply all these changes. So as you can see all these plus marks here. So all these pluses are saying, hey, this is what's getting created because they currently don't exist. And if we scroll up to the top, it'll tell you that the assets are all going to be a create. There's no update or destroy or delete, right? So now I can run a Terraform plan, or no, I already did plan. So now we need to run a Terraform apply. So Terraform Apply will apply these changes and deploy them to the cloud. And so we'll run apply, see how that goes, let that finish. It'll say, hey, are you sure you want to do this? And then you say yes. Obviously no if you don't. If you forgot to change something, this is a good time to go back and change. But that's the cool thing about Terraform is it's okay if you forgot something, right? I purposely forgot those tags for the teams, and I'll show you how we add those in a second. So you hit yes. Cool. And so that's going up. And I'll tell you, I'll also go over something that I learned myself with doing this. So now I'm like, all right, cool, this is up. It's deployed. Let's use the same thing to deploy ACC resources, right? Acceptance resources. Well, you can't use the same config because the same config is tied to these resources. So you have to create a new config in a new folder, right? But what's cool is you can use the same template, literally copy paste it into the new folder, go over it, and then say, I want to update your configs, do the same thing with a Terraform Init. It'll init, go, okay, these don't exist. Download the required plugins, Terraform Apply, Terraform Plan, and then Terraform Apply. And then you will have the ACC resources. And then you rinse, repeat for production. Do the same thing over and over for different environments, applications. So you have multiple applications. What's really cool is even though this is taking a few minutes to do, it's still 1,000 times faster than doing it through Azure UI, for example, right? Like you don't want to go through and have to create all these resources, all this stuff in the Azure UI. You already have all the data here. Do it once, call it done. The bad part about reusing the templates is you are using the same password across all these templates. So you could technically update those passwords and use a different password for each one. Say like create a new password for each environment, each application, which would probably be a better route to go than doing it this way. So it tells you here that the creation has been completed. So check this out. So now we can go into resource groups. And we got this Tutor's Edge app resource group. It created the resource group. It created all the applications. It's so fast. It already, as you can tell, it's got the app service, the application insights, the app service plan, the SQL server, the storage account, and the Sql database. Look at that. It's created everything we need to get this app up and running in production. And if we go to the app URL, we can launch this URL. and it will work. It will generate the page. This is your development page. Everything's up and running. So if you think about that, we just deployed an entire cluster of assets or resources on Azure in about 10 minutes, guys. Literally about 10 minutes. We deployed all of this stuff to Azure. It's deployed, working. And this is an application that I would use, right? So now if we want to go back and, like I was saying, we want to rinse and repeat and use these resources to create an ACC environment, right? So we can say make dir. So we're going to go to the root directory of the shell, right? And then we do make dir tuner's edge ACC app. And then so we want to copy the Terraform main TF over to the tuner's edge app. We're going to cd into the tuner's edge app directory. Make sure the file's there. Terraform Init. Let that build or let that set up and install the app or install the plugins. Terraform plan. Wait, I forgot to change the config. So as you could tell, it's going to go, hey, I need to create more assets, which is actually invalid. I need to come in here and change this to ACC. I don't want a free, I want basic. And then let's go with an S1, which is a standard plan of 1. And so I can close this editor. Let's plan again so it refreshes and goes, okay, this is new, this is different, right? So it'll refresh the states, say, okay, cool. And then so now I'm going to run a Terraform Apply. So literally in 3 minutes, we're already building our ACC environment. So now we've just replicated and built an acceptance environment for the Tuner's Edge application in 3 minutes, guys. I'm going to say 4 to completely finish, but I have a strong feeling it's going to finish in at least, I think no more than 4 minutes, but we're at 3 minutes right now. Let's just set a timer up. Go, hey, this is running. This is where it's going. So right now it's creating the Sql database, which I technically don't need. For cost reasons, I'll probably go back through and delete all this stuff because I don't want to spend the money if I don't have to. And I'll just spin it up as needed, right? It's so easy to spin up and tear down and destroy, right? And I'll show you that in a second. So now we've created a dev environment, we've created an ACC environment. And let's see how this goes. All right, so now we're in 4 minutes. We're 4 minutes in. Watch it be like 5 minutes. It's done. 4 minutes. 4 minutes, we created an acceptance environment based off the same configs as the dev environment. We can then turn around and create the same configs for production. But so let's change this. Oh, you know what I did forget to do? We forgot to add teams to all the other ones. Ha ha ha. So let's add teams. I just want to show you guys what happens, right? So, okay, now we need to add the tag of teams to all of the resources, right? So now I've added all those tags. I can close the editor. I've saved it. If I do a Terraform plan, this will show me, hey, these assets are all created. They're all here. We just need to update the tags, right? So nothing to add, 5 to change, 0 to destroy. Now, if we scroll up to the top, remember, as I said before, it shows you what's happening. So right here, it'll tell you we have some updates in place happening. So in this app service plan, we are updating the tag and adding the DevOps tag. This app service plan, we're adding the DevOps tag. We're changing this tier from standard 1 to basic, right? And then now we have DevOps. Now we have DevOps on here. Now we have DevOps here. We have DevOps here. And there we go. So we have five to change, 0 to add, 0 to destroy, right? So now let's Terraform Apply. And so this should be faster. 10, let's see how long this takes. I would say 2 minutes. This shouldn't be long because it's literally updating states, adding tags, and it's changing the environment, right? So yes, or changing the app service plan. What was it changing it to? Basic? Oh, because I hit size of standard 1, then standard and basic. So it knew that, like, it knows that because I said give me the size of standard 1, it created under standard instead of basic. So basic 1 is actually what I should have done. But yeah, so that's done. It took less than a minute to do. Now, if we come into here, we refresh, we have the ACC environment right here. And so let's look at this app service plan. And so when we go to where was it at? Scale up. So if we go to scale up, you'll see that we're actually deployed on a production standard 1 environment, which is fine. But so you see you have standard 1, standard 2, standard 3, and then you have Ps. So these are your big production boxes. So standard 1, $73 a month. And then you have your devs, which are your free, your dev, and your basic plans, right? So these are for dev and testing environments. So technically we should have built ACC on I would probably say no bigger than a D1, because we don't need that many compute minutes, because of the fact that it shouldn't like be readily available all the time. The only thing is, like, you want to put it on I'd say scale it up when you're doing any kind of real world production testing. It's always good to have your production application and your ACC application matching. But I understand for cost effectiveness, like, you want to scale it down, scale it up as needed, right? So I guess some of the other things that I could dig into more later is figuring out how to set up scale outs. And so, I mean, what's really cool is there are a lot of resources on the web about Terraform. So Terraform scale out. You can, right here, there's a whole article from them on how to scale out the application, right? And so then that way you can go through this, do your own research on this, figure out how to build out the scale out configurations. So right here, you can do a monitor auto scale scaling. So resource group, virtual machine scale, monitor auto scaling. Boom. And then you can set up your auto scaling based on your attributes, right? So their documentation is really good. And so if you see, this is docs providers, Azure RM. So then when you go into Azure RM, then you can see all the data for app service plan, app configurations. This is actually under monitor resources. So you can do everything here and set it up. But yeah, that's pretty much it for some Terraform information. Like I said, you can just literally apply a Terraform destroy, and this will then delete all the resources that you created. So it's really easy, really nice to go in here and like set up a bunch of stuff, test it, spin it up, test what you need, and then tear it back down. Especially if you're very cost, what's it called? If the costs are very important to you, right? If you're trying to save money and not spend money when you don't need to, you can, like, I think this is really good to like, hey, let's spin up this environment. Let's do some testing for the day and let's spin it back down, right? And that way it's not always up all night and running. And because if it's running and there, it still costs, right? So you have to destroy it and basically get rid of it. Downside, you lose all your insights, all your data, right? So you literally are deleting everything. So if you're trying to capture app insights data, stuff like that, then you don't want to destroy that data. I guess you could create two configs and say, hey, this is a spin up test config and this is a different config, and tear those down and up as you need them. But keep in mind that when you do create the applications and the app services, you will have to then move into the spin everything up, test it. Well, to test it, you need to deploy the application. So once you spin it up, then you got to go into CI/CD, deploy the application to those assets, and then test it from that point. But other than that, that's Terraform. Really, it's super easy to use. These configurations are just, I mean, this whole thing to spin up all those resources is 142 lines of code. Because it's using variables, I'll share this on probably my GitHub just so you guys can see it, have access to it. I'll put a link in everything. So if you got any questions, let me know in the comments below. So this is spinning up. This spun up an app service, an app storage account, an application insights, a SQL server, a SQL database, all in 10 minutes. So a resource group, app service plan, app service, storage account, application insights, SQL server, and a SQL database. Thank you guys for watching. Please go ahead and give me a subscribe and follow me over on twitch.tv/Tuner's Edge.